Welcome back, mate. If you thought the puzzle towards the end of last week was beautiful, just wait for this week. This is the best puzzle set I've seen in the series so far. Puzzle number 634. I'm almost tempted to make a full separate video on that one. It's just that good. I forgot a couple puzzles last week. We'll make a big video at the end with all the puzzles my ADHD brain forgets. Let's get straight into it. 14 puzzles, 7 quotes. Your time starts now. Here we use the coordination strength we've gained from doing so many hookmates, so we can jump in with a rook defended by the knight, forcing the king to take. We're not playing an actual hookmate here because the king can escape. Instead, we realize we've led him into a checkmating net. Rook cutting off here, we can jump in the back with the knight. 628. Not many pieces on the board, but still not a super simple puzzle. You probably tried a whole bunch of like queen and rook checks. However, the actual move is we want to play rook here. The only problem is the knight blocks, right? So that is the checkmate defender. We need to remove the checkmate defender ahead of time, meaning we play queen takes f6. If they take with the bishop, we play the rook check like this. And if they move their rook anywhere to try and get out of it, the rook was defending this knight, so of course we can come in with the queen there. So there's nothing they can do to stop the checkmate. 629. I love this one. It looks like at first you're trying to do something with your queen. However, it's all about the knight here. We got a knight check here and a knight check here. Currently, the rook stops this one, bishop stops this one. Do you see how their vision intersects on this square? If you watched the previous episodes, then you will know we got an interference tactic. How good. We chuck our knight on that square, block the vision of both pieces. If the bishop takes, we block the vision of the rook here, so we can play our knight for checkmate there. If, however, the rook takes, we block the vision of the bishop this way, so we can jump our knight in for checkmate there. 630. Maybe you thought the puzzle was mistaken because it looks like there's a checkmate in one here, but of course, the knight is pinned. And no, it is not queen takes rook. That is incorrect. Because their rook can come in with check, we're not doing checkmate in 2 moves. How else can we unpin this knight? Instead, we unpin by playing queen g1. What a move. Rook takes to avoid the checkmate, but in that scenario, we've unpinned our knight for checkmate there. Also, they can block with their rook, but we're just going to take that bad boy and give checkmate there. 631. We're going to use the power of the bishop pair here. Throwing the queen away as bait. We throw a bait in the water. If the king takes our bait, we've led the king down. finishing him off with the bishops. If instead he doesn't take the bait and runs away up this way, we've got our other bishop here in a crisscross Boden's mate, 632. We got to throw our queen bait in again. We chuck our queen away on this square. King must take. It is forced. We've led him down so we can follow up with the bishop. The knight's doing a good job restricting, as well as our king. 633. Are you starting to see the pattern here on these few? We're throwing the queen away. Our bait's in the water. King takes, and we've led them into a checkmating net. Knight gives a check, taking away where the king came from. 634. This puzzle is magnificent. I'm sure all of you went through a whole lot of moves in order to find the answer. If you did find the answer, well done. This is not easy at all. The move that wins, Queen E4. Unbelievable. The genius in noticing that all of these pieces are on this side of the board, and we're blocking the vision of all these pieces certain ways. Let's go through all the geniuses behind this move. First, if the knight takes, we've done two things. Remove the checkmate defender from this square, and we block the vision of the queen, so you can play pawn to c4 for checkmate. Okay, next up, queen takes. We've removed the checkmate defender of this square, so the rook can come in for checkmate there. What about rook takes this way then? We've stopped that checkmate defender, but we've removed the checkmate defender of this square, so the knight can come in here for checkmate. The last beautiful move, bishop takes the queen. We've deflected the checkmate defender from this square, so we can follow up with our bishop defended by the rook. That was incredible. Let's go on. 635. We have our queen-knight combo again. We sacrifice the queen first to lead the king into a checkmating net to follow up with our knight, giving the check and taking away where the king came from. He can also go down though. But we got two checkmates here. We can either play the pawn up for checkmate, or we have queen c4 checkmate here. 636. At first, it looks like the puzzle is incorrect because you can just play rook checkmate here, using kind of like an opera mate. But of course, the rook is pinned. How do we unpin this rook so we can finish the king off? We can play queen to e6, remembering that the pawns are going this way. They must take because it's checkmate. Unpinning our rook here so he can go in for the checkmate because the king's no longer going to be attacked when we move. 637. Lovely puzzle. We got to get rid of our queen here because we want to open up the scope of our bishop, but there's two pieces in the way. If the rook takes, we can push our pawn up, giving the check, opening up the scope of this bishop. That's checkmate there. So they can also try to run away. But that's why we put our queen on f3, because now we can run in the back, queen to b7, checkmate. However, they can just put their rook in the way. But that changes nothing. We're going to push our pawn up. We still take away the king's runaway squares, and that's blocked anyway. 638. Noticing that our queen is pinned is a key part of this puzzle. Also that our rook is undefended, so a lot of the checks, the king can just run away and take our rook. We are going to get creative here and manufacture a double check tactic and getting out of this pin with the king. So we sacrifice the queen on e5, x-ray defending the rook, so they can't just take a rook. Let's say the queen takes, puts us in check. Now we can unveil our double check tactic, covering the king and giving the checkmate as well as defending our rook. How good? They can also take with the king though, but luckily we got our bishop here helping out, so we can move our knight back, giving the check here and taking away where the king came from with the knight. 639. This is a story of figuring out which knight check is going to deliver the final blow here. They both defend the rook, and they both check the king. The bishop is stopping both of these knight checks, so we need to remove the checkmate defender first, and then figure out which one we're going to play. We hit him with queen d6. If the bishop takes, the reason why I got stuck here is I kept playing this knight check at first. We give the check, protect the rook, but of course the king runs away. This knight is already defending that square, so it's going to be the other knight check. We defend the rook, give the check, and help out over here with this knight. If the king doesn't take and instead takes our rook down here, we just slide down with our queen. Our pawns are helping out here. That's going to be checkmate there. 640. Let's set up a sneaky trap. We play queen g7 check. Rook must take, it is forced. Forcing the rook out of the way. So now our bishop scope's opened, and we can reveal our double check tactic, meaning only the king can move, so it's easy to calculate, and we defend our rook at the same time. King can't go anywhere. That's checkmate there. 641. finishing off the puzzle series with style. The only move that works, believe it or not, is castle's queenside. Yes, that's correct. Rook d1 fails. So let me show you why castling first works. We're threatening the opera mate here. So if they play rook wherever, we're going to come in for the opera mate. However, if they castle, they've castled straight into our rook for checkmate there. Of course, if we just play rook d1 to start with, they're going to castle. And now our rook can't magically deliver the checkmate here in one move, right? This move also fails over here if you're trying to threaten this next move for the same reason. They're just going to castle and you got nothing. Thank you to the rare few of you who get through all of these puzzles. You're part of the special 5% who's putting in the puzzle grind. If anyone's playing a chess tournament soon, you got this. I believe in you. Your hard work's going to pay off. You're putting in the work. I'll see you next week. Let me know how you go.